Good afternoon, race fans. Welcome to the Radical Cup North America, race number 3 of our Expel Grand Prix weekend here at the National Park of Speed. My name is Eric Miller, the voice of Road America, alongside Tom Drew, the voice of Radical Cup North America. And we've got cars heading out behind the Corvette safety car on this Sunday afternoon, ready for our third and final race of the Radical Cup weekend here on this 4-mile race course. Tom, kind of a very different look to the race day today. A little cloudy today, a little bit more reminiscent of maybe Friday afternoon's race, to be honest, where we had a little bit of an increased cloud cover. So very consistent with Friday afternoon.
Absolutely, and as they head down into turn one, it'll be interesting to see if we get 3-4 wide action. We've seen that earlier this weekend. Of course, turn 3, so crucial in that run down to turn 5. Then it's up the hill into turn 6. Through a sequence of right-handers and left-handers before the famous carousel. Of course, that elevation goes downhill into the famous kink before an additional kink that takes you on that back straightaway into turn 12. A rise of sweeping S's into the final corner that is turn 14, so critical for this long straightaway. We'll take you through the grid quickly. So it's Wayne Williams who puts himself on the pole after being fastest in yesterday's race. He'll start alongside Steve Jenks. From the second row of the grid, it is Chip Roma who will start alongside Robert Rossi. And Rossi was looking strong in yesterday's race. In fact, took the win. On the third row of the grid, it is David Albin who starts alongside Scott Wagner. And then it's our pole man in Pro 1500, Jack Yang, 3 for 3 poles, would you believe? He's been ultra quick, and it's a lockout of the fourth row with Valor Racing's Luke Kendall joining him. From the fifth row of the grid, Jonas Axpo looking to extend his points. He'll start alongside Mike Anzaldi, who has the pole in the gold class, and Mike has been tremendously quick. A little bit unlucky not to take a win. So far, the honours in the gold class have gone to Chris Hoon. He'll start alongside Valen Venkatesh, who starts from 12th on the grid. Sam McDougall, impressive run for Sam so far for Group A. Sam starts from 5th in Pro 1500 on the 7th row of the grid alongside Matt Roma. Josh Holtz starts on the 8th row of the grid alongside Lucian Pancia. Then it's our pole man in Pro 1340, as we can just see that there's a spinner. So that was car number 5. That's Chip Roma, who's taken a spin on the first of 2 warm-up laps. And the second warm-up lap, actually that's a change in the procedures. Typically we have 1 warm-up lap, but interestingly enough, the cars have been going so quick in the Platinum class that Hankook have actually asked us to do a second warm-up lap just to make sure that drivers are getting tyres up to temperature. Go back to taking you through the grid, and from row 9, alongside our pole man in Pro 1340 is Dave Mason, and he'll start in the 28 machine from 18th. Then we're looking at Mike D'Ambrose Jr. starting alongside Ross Wolf, who's been on the podium in the gold class. Nico Balkazoon, one of our youngest in the field, will start from the 11th row of the grid alongside Dennis Kelly. Declan Dionorine, he led the Pro 1340 points heading into this weekend, but the competition has been fierce in that class at Road America, with a lot of ring-ins from around here. In fact, Team Stradale and Autobahn Country Club well represented in the field, and speaking of which, he'll line up alongside Avery Ziegler. Aaron Ziegler will line up just behind from 25th on the grid. Then it's Ryan George and Dave Tweedley in the Soul SR8 rounding out the field. So a stacked field. We started with 30 cars. There's a couple less to start this one, but 1 more pace lap. And Eric, the action has been thick and fast. Of course, race 1 marred by a huge incident on the front straightaway. Good to know that Eric Wolf is A-OK. Race 2 did end under safety car, but as you recall, we had some fantastic action in the Pro 1500 and Gold classes. So let's wait and see what's in store today.
Absolutely. I thought yesterday, even though we did end with the full course yellow right at the end due to some contact down at Canada Corner, but I felt that the racing was really gentlemanly and elbows out in that Pro 1500 class. Truly, they were certainly line astern for a while, but able to race side by side for a few exchange of positions throughout the later stages of that the 40-minute timed event. But today's race a little bit different with that mandatory pit stop.
Absolutely. So just to take folks through it, every driver will have to complete a pit stop. That window will open 15 minutes into the race, and it lasts for approximately 10 minutes. The only reason that that might change a little bit is if we have an issue on circuit and Charlie Kimball, our race director, elects to start that window a little bit later than usual, just as we gather up the field or something like that. But otherwise, everyone will have to come in. The teams are allowed to make changes. You will unlikely see any tyre changes, mind you. It'll be a quick one, around about 20 seconds stationary, and then we are away racing again. Of course, that will feel like eternity for the drivers who are making their stops. It typically throws a cat amongst the pigeons, and it will certainly be interesting to see if the teams and drivers can do the job they need to do on this ultra-long pit lane, which always seems to catch a couple of people out.
Well, that's just the thing, is this pit lane is extremely long, and with that very long pit lane comes a very extended period of time while on the pit lane. Of course, that time that they are needing to be on pit lane is obviously not a necessarily going to have a driver change. Some drivers are staying in the car the whole time, so there is a little bit of that rule in there as well.
No driver changes, but just a moment to catch your breath and think about your competitor that's blasting down the front straightaway at 170 mile an hour. So, yeah, definitely, it's always a bit of an eerie feeling, to be honest, when you're just being told by the team to wait, and of course you've got to make sure that you don't dump the clutch and stall it, that you get away cleanly, get back up to 40 miles an hour in the pit lane, and just focus on a strong outlap. Of course, we will see some, no doubt, a little bit of strategy at play, whether people want to go for an undercut, whether they try to stay out in space, which is created by the majority of cars potentially coming in early. Of course, if a safety car comes out during that pit stop window, you can capitalize on that as well, because the pits will stay open. So that's the pit stops. There's 4 classes in Radical Cup North America. At the pointy end of the field is the Platinum class, and that's signified by the Dayglow yellow on the rear wings. And we're riding on board with Mike Anzaldi at the moment, who has green on his rear wing, signifying 1340, and that's 1340 cc's. A very, very small engine in these cars, motorcycle derived, but produces plenty of horsepower, and with the downforce of these cars, ultra quick lap times. The Pro 1500, as you can imagine, is 1500 cc's, and that's red on the rear wing. The Gold class is for drivers with the 1500 cc SR3s, but over 30 years of age. And as we mentioned, the Platinum guys, also over 30, but with 430 brake horsepower, 380 foot-pounds of torque. And as Jim Booth coined the phrase, the Torque Monster SR10s will be coming to the green first. It's Wayne Williams who leads them along the front straightaway, a perfect formation, and we're green here once again at Road America.
Already 3 abreast before they even get to the start-finish line. But once the green flag is out, the field can certainly go extended. And as we race all the way down into turn 1, big move into turn 1 for Williams.
Robert Rossi, fantastic stuff. So Wayne Williams has capitalized on his pole position. Robert Rossi, though, the big mover and shaker, gets into second place as they head into turn 3. And Steve Jenks has slotted into third. Meanwhile, a little bit of a lock-up there for Mike Anzaldi, and we've got a spin, and around we go. That's David Mason, I think, in the 28.
Pretty significant contact there as well.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of damage on the 28 machine. It is indeed the Graham Rahal performance driver. So Graham Rahal with some drama in the IndyCar race. His driver in Radical Cup also with drama on the opening lap. We saw a big moment under brakes. That involved Sam McDougall, and they're fighting fast and furious, perhaps finding conditions a little bit different with all of that Firestone rubber on the circuit whilst these Hankook tyres come up to temperature.
So Wayne Williams, your leader overall. Rossi, a great start into that second spot. Steve Jenks, who has been fantastic this weekend, and Chip Romer still fourth. Another one off in turn 8.
And that's the Michelob Ultra car, I think. So that is Matt Romer, and it's a full course caution. How unlucky for Matt Romer. He was
well, not yes and no. Unlucky that that the yellow flag comes out for certainly the field. But him losing all those positions, but getting back to be able to catch up to the field, he'll be able to race his way through the field as well.
Yeah, I sense, though, he would have preferred the full course caution just to come out
before that.
Beat before, so that he could slow down and maybe not have that moment that he had. But anyway, a mishap for Matt Romer. That's tumbled him down the order. Meanwhile, Dad, Chip Romer, sits in 4th position. Fantastic. Of course, it is Father's Day this weekend and today, and so brilliant to have so many father and son combos in Radical Cup. What a way to spend the day for Father's Day. And I've got to do a bit of a shout out to my father, Mike, who's come over from Australia to also be a part of this weekend, because Road America has got to be the greatest spectacle of racing here in North America. Just spectacular. The scenery, the facility, and the circuit putting on brilliant action all weekend long, and hopefully this safety car will be a quick one so we can get back to green for Radical Cup.
Well, you've been with us for a number of years with the series here at Road America in the lower North Paddock, just inside turn 14. Obviously, all the new pavings, the enclosed garages down in your paddock area, but I know that a lot of race fans came through this weekend as well and kind of learned a little bit more about Radical Cup.
Yeah, it was absolutely spectacular. So many fans coming down, mentioning how much they love these cars and that we're a part of this weekend. We're so grateful to be on this program. But yeah, a lot of people also exposed to a stunning Radical RXC. And Ben Blander, who's often a competitor in Radical Cup, has this stunning version of an RXC, totally custom built. In fact, the carbon bodywork tinted green by the same folks that do the Aston Martin carbon tints in England. So a beautiful car, and a lot of people really interested in that vehicle down in the paddock. We had an autograph session today as well. That was fun for the drivers and the young fans here at the circuit. And we've also been karting. Yesterday we did the annual Radical Kart race here at Road America, and I was a bit disappointed with my own performance, but great to see so many mechanics, as well as drivers, friends, family, out there competing. And I got to say, sticking it a bit to the drivers, so that's always fun.
Well, you know what happens with those that can't afford to go racing? They go to work on cars that are racing.
Well, that's so true, and in fact that was been spoken about in the line as we waited our turn. So, speaking of waiting turns, Wayne Williams waiting his turn to hopefully extend this lead. But I got to say, as we saw in yesterday's race, Robert Rossi looking super racy in that slightly older SR10. It just seems to fit him like a glove. He's got one of the newer models as well. For whatever reason, he just feels more comfortable in this car. They haven't quite dialed in the setup on the new one. It is a little bit of a different dynamic with the cockpit safety structure. And Robert Rossi is looking pretty racy. I'm interested to see what Steve Jenks can do. All of these guys in the Platinum class have had to modify their setups after we saw some tyres blister in yesterday's race. And so this is a completely new ball game, and obviously Rossi feels very, very comfortable behind the wheel. Jack Yank, what will he do? Can he convert his pole into a win. Of course, he did yesterday, and that's where that car is just up against the wall. So a slightly extended process to get that out. So that's just turn 3, isn't it?
That is indeed just before or just after where you'd make a late turn in there. So the safety car lights are still on. So unfortunately, as part of this 40-minute race, we're about 7 minutes in.
So it's not early enough to start the pit window. So we'll have to watch that a little bit, but we've got some time before that. I think we're going to get some green flag laps in. That's going to be more important. As I mentioned, Jack Yang. So that was the 1-3 that's in the wall. Well, no, it's definitely not the 1-3. But it might be, let's see.
That may be a second car involved that we hadn't realized.
Yeah, so there were 2 cars involved, and that's a bit of a long extraction. But getting back to these drivers, Jack Yang finding his second win at Road America. He did that a few years ago as well with Group A Racing. His first win yesterday for Valor Racing. Luke Kendall, his teammate, vying for the championship with the man who sits third in class, Jonas Axpo, who's been quietly collecting points. It's been a pretty impressive campaign for Jonas so far this year. Mike Anzaldi's managed to get himself well and truly ahead of Chris Hoon on that start and put a Pro 1500 car, at least one, I think 2, between himself and second place Chris Hoon. That's a bit of a grudge match. Mike Anzaldi has come into the championship for this weekend. He's actually been in Eric's seat, really, alongside me in the commentary booth at both Sebring at Sonoma. And Anzaldi back behind the wheel, had tremendous pace, awesome, all weekend long really from the first practice session. But it has been Chris Hoon, our reigning world champ in the gold class, who's taken the wins. So we'll see if Anzaldi, who's effectively a local, another Autobahn Country Club member, could take this win today. That would be a lovely way to end the weekend.
So it looks like the 28 of Mason and the 18 of Wolf were the 2 cars
18.
involved in turn 3. So it would
18,
be
13, almost the same.
Well, from a distance.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Hard to spot some of these numbers on these cars. They're relatively small. And that's a shame for Ross Wolf. Ross Wolf got on the podium in his first race here in Radical Cup. His teammate had a solid day yesterday. Another newcomer, Lucien Pancia, who sits at third in the gold class at the moment.
Finished on the podium for Pancia yesterday.
Yeah. So it's been a strong campaign or debut for DD Autosports, and Darren Casey, who runs that operation out of Texas, is no stranger to radical competition, but certainly with new drivers, he's put all of his knowledge into full effect. Mike D'Ambrose, no surprise really that he's in the lead of Pro 1340 at the moment, converting that race start from the pole, and his son sits behind him. But a strong day so far for Declan Dionorine, who was starting way down. If we recall, he was actually down in 23rd on the grid and finds himself a couple of rows up after the first few corners. So the 28 of David Mason has joined the back of the queue there, and we are going green at this time. So David Mason with a bit of damage on the front of his 28 machine, but back in the race. And the cars now making their way around turn 11. So a little strung out. They're going to have to bunch up here.
Would you imagine race control advising teams to do that and bunch up here? Lights are out on the safety car.
So Wayne Williams will have a mirrorful of Robert Rossi. Jack Yang, no doubt, with a mirrorful of teammate Luke Kendall. Mike Anzaldi will be hoping that Chris Hoon can't get around Sam McDougall. That will be fun to watch between the 61, the 8, and Chris Hoon in the 53. So that's a roundabout car position 9, 10, 11.
Safety car on pit lane, and already the field extenuating on the loud pedal. Underneath the NTT data bridge, Wayne Williams will bring them back to the green flag.
And we have got a green flag. Racing once again with Chip Roma looking pretty racy on Steve Jenks. Further back, a couple of side-by-side action as it's Steve Jenks who has to defend from Chip Roma. And it looks to me like Kendall might be through on Jonas Axpo.
But Rossi starting to put some pressure on Wayne Williams as well at the point of the field. But there is Axpo.
Ahead of Kendall, so Kendall couldn't get it done in turn 1. We'll have to wait and see what happens down into turn 5. Meanwhile, Jack Yang is ahead of them and will be breathing a sigh of relief as his teammate tussles with the points leader. Speaking of a tussle, they go side by side, and that's Robert Rossi, Wayne Williams, and there's been contact. And Wayne Williams, again, Robert Rossi hip and shouldered Wayne Williams in race 1. And now Robert Rossi has taken the lead. I hate to think what that's going to be like afterwards. Wayne Williams will be fuming inside that helmet.
He was definitely alongside and slightly ahead going into the turn into 5 inside Williams. But Williams has to have a little bit of a racing room provided as well on the exit of 5. Contact right at the center of the apex, right where we switch our camera angles there. So we missed the actual contact, but you know it was there just simply because of Williams' half spin, able to continue, but obviously falling down the order now for Wayne Williams.
Yeah, so if you're Steve Jenks, I think someone would be on the radio saying, look, there's likely going to be some kind of penalty involved there. Jenks, just keep it calm. Robert Rossi.
It sounds like Williams actually stopped perhaps. Full course yellow. And another car stricken as well.
This may lead into our pit stop window. That would open up the pits for everyone to trundle in. That's going to make a really, really busy pit lane, and someone hasn't seen the yellow flag there. I fear that was a pass under yellow. Hopefully that'll get readdressed, because otherwise that's a clear penalty. The full course caution easily out. Of course, the radios don't work too well down the back of the circuit through the forest. But, wow, drama in the Platinum class. And Robert Rossi, that looked a little bit dicey on Wayne Williams.
And Williams has been so fast this weekend, too, and taking advantage of a great start. Fell down the order quite a bit yesterday as well, but definitely falling through. Down to, looks like 13th right now overall.
So back on track, Wayne Williams got it going again.
So another car may have
if there is one
an
man
issue
who gets a reasonable amount of red mist underneath the helmet, it is Mr. Wayne Williams. He's a sprint car star turned road warrior, and Wayne is amazing. When he first got into these radicals, it was down at NOLA, New Orleans, and it was bucketing down. The track was slippery as anything, and Wayne was absolutely at home because the car was moving around him. It was like being on the dirt track. All of a sudden, when it dried up, Wayne had some work to do and had struggled initially to recalibrate the sensors just to really lean on the downforce. And it took him a little while. He had a breakthrough win in Canada. It was fantastic, a home win on the streets of Toronto. And there's the other car that was involved.
So that is the 8 car of McDougall. So far, the 3 cars that have had incidents other than Williams being able to continue, it's been very bad luck to have the 8 number. That is the 8 of McDougall, the Group A Radical of New York entry. But the 28, the 8, and the 18 have all had incidents over in turn 3 today.
So the good news is that Sam is getting out of the car.
Sounds like some contact with a rubber wall. You can see the skid marks through the grass a little bit.
It's almost like he's just dumped it off the left-hand side of the curbs.
Exited on the high side of the curb. That's where the curb kind of bounces over and redraws. So you kind of get a hook on the exit curbing, and then it looks like he came back across.
And when the rear wheel goes off the backside of the curb. That unloads the rear suspension, and so at that point you're a bit of a passenger. It's one of those things that most racing drivers have to go through a little bit to understand that if you get out there, you need to open up the wheel and just drive straight ahead. And accept defeat for a moment or two whilst you gather it back up. If you continue to keep the steering wheel with some lock, you tend to go into the inside wall. But he might have got a helping hand, not necessarily putting the blame on Sam. Sam's had a strong weekend so far. So an unfortunate end to Road America for Sam McDougall. But for everyone else, a little bit of a breather as we get very close to the pit window opening.
And a few drivers may elect to come in. I would assume everybody will take advantage of that if the pit window is open.
Yeah, I'm just sort of looking out the window to see if we've had any word that it's not open yet. I don't believe.
I have not seen the pit window sign available yet.
There's a lot of gestures going on the start-finish straight, but I think they're just having a conversation whilst we await some more green flag action.
Pit window is delayed.
Pit window delayed. So fair enough. I think that makes sense. Of course, whenever that does open, everyone is going to stream in. They will be anxious to get that one done. The skies continue to go grey, but luckily I don't think we're going to get any weather.
Yet. This is Wisconsin.
Well, we got it on Tuesday in the preliminary stages of unloading, and it was unbelievable. It was torrential hail as well as rain. And it looked like an ominous week, but it's been spectacular weather up here at Road America. And what a fantastic sight. The colour and the sea of transporters from the IndyCar paddock. Of course, all the motorhomes lining this circuit as well. For those that haven't been up here, it's one of the most fantastic festival weekends. Everyone having a good time. The crowd is just spectacular. So well behaved, to be honest. Given that it does turn into a long weekend and a big weekend of fun here at Road America.
I think what helps that is obviously we allow campers to stay here till noon on Monday, so everyone knows that they can take advantage of that and have a relaxing evening. And there is the radar, so possibly a little bit of mist starting to work its way here.
Well, Sam's car has got more damage than I thought. It was obscured before, but you can see that is backed in rather heavily. It's unfortunate for McDougall. No wonder that it took a little bit longer to get this removed.
Well, not only that, but the wrecker already occupied by a couple of cars that have made contact very early in the going here.
Yeah, there's a few souvenirs for someone that gets lucky if you go down to the Radical Paddock after this one.
It looks like that wrecker will make its way to the cut at the Skippy Road over in Turn 3. So there's a backdoor gate just inside Turn 3 that they'll have the advantage of being able to go lights down, flags down, and go green this time by the start-finish line. So they're about a half lap away from going green. 20 minutes in, we're just about halfway. I would imagine that the window would likely open here after the conclusion of one green flag lap, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this pans out because it's a long lap here at Road America. So the window is going to be relatively short. I guess we'll get going back green, or whether the window will be displayed immediately. I guess we'll go back green. That will mean that everyone will be stopping under competition. Although if you're a betting person, you'd say that maybe you'll get another yellow flag. Hopefully not. But we could see some strategy here, folks.
That would not be outside the realm of a possibility.
No, it does seem like that. What do they say? Yellows breed yellows? Seems to be a symptom of modern motorsport. Not sure how we get around that one, but it does seem to be reality sometimes. Steve Jenks, what's he thinking? He won the opening round or race here on Friday afternoon. Another good, strong return to the championship for a driver who knows his cars well, knows the championship well. Won the championship back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly been a front runner in the Platinum Class cars. Robert Rossi, a returnee as well for this year. And Rossi, I dare say, could have won a championship. In fact, it might have been the same year. But had some frustrations mid-year, didn't finish off the season, and has come back with a vengeance, leading the points. May get a few less points than anticipated today if he gets a penalty for that contact with Wayne Williams. But who knows? We didn't see what happened. And Robert Rossi is coming around to lead the pack. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to go green yet again, and it is indeed on the front straightaway. We're racing, and if you're down in turn 14, they're already racing too. So, Radical Cup underway yet again, and resumes the race lead, does Robert Rossi. Further back in the pack, some jostling in the Pro 1500s and the Gold class. And we've just been told, breaking news, Robert Rossi, a drive-through penalty for contact on the 611. And the pit window is open for 10 minutes. So Robert Rossi has some work to do if he's going to finish in second. Robert Rossi with Steve Jenks in the lead now, so that's a position change.
So I wonder if Rossi, a little distracted by the penalty announcement. I'm sure that came over the radio and was not a pleasant thought.
Rossi is holding up Chip Romer as well, big time. Steve Jenks is just, look at this, unleashed speed. So perhaps Steve Jenks, knowing that he's going to come into pit lane this time round, is putting in a burner of an in-lap to try and extend the gap. It will come down to how fast you can come into the pit lane, hit your marks, do everything cleanly, and then, of course, get up to speed as quickly as possible on the outlap. Steve Jenks in prime position as they come around the carousel, and Jenks will be coming down into turn 12 momentarily.
Of course, the penalty for the contact with Wayne Williams, or the exchange of the lead in turn 5, that was just prior to the yellow for the 8 machine of McDougall.
The other thing that's happened, as we've been talking about this, is Jonas Axpo's up to second place behind Jack Yang. Luke Kendall's fallen back. So Wayne Williams has been carving his way up through the field, and we'll see who comes to pit lane. Jenks stays out. Rossi in to serve. Well, does he serve the penalty, or is he just coming in to serve the pit stop? That's the question. We'll find out. If he trundles through pit lane, it's just a penalty. Meanwhile, Axpo's in. Wayne Williams too. So a number of drivers electing to stop early. Rossi, does he trundle right through, or does he go to the box? He's going to trundle right through and take the penalty. So he tumbles down the order and still has to make his mandatory pit stop.
Absolutely. So a few cars have come onto pit lane as well to make their independent pit stops, but with that drive through, he'll have to go around and then make potentially another stop, of course, within that 10-minute window. So the window is going to be open to about 7.5 to 8 minutes left in the session. So it's going to be a late pit window, later than normal because of the delay with the yellow.
Absolutely. So, drivers using all of the grasscrete, all of the extended roadway there on, what's that, the exit of 8? Or exit of 6, rather.
Exit of 6.
Here's the exit of 8. And and they're using it a fair bit again. So I think everyone's being told to get on with it. A hurry up over the radio.
About 3 minutes into the pit window, open with about 17 minutes and change on the clock.
So look at this stunning stuff from the 86, Steve Jenks. Chip Roma with some work to do, but he can at least see the leader in class. And there is Jack Yang, who's getting tangled up with Scott Wagner. That looked a little bit ominous. They do come through, but Jack Yang getting held up by Wagner, who of course is in a platinum class car, but that car doesn't corner as quickly. It's faster down the straightaways. Jack Yang, disaster for him.
And so a multitude of cars now on outlaps.
So the pit lane quiet at the moment, but I suspect we're going to see, yeah, Jack Yang is in. Luke Kendall in too.
So with the pit stop, you see some cars on pit lane, some cars remaining on the racing surface. 13 minutes left to go here in this one. And again, the pit window will be open till about 7.5 minutes or so left.
So it's going to be a little bit hard to follow who is truly in the lead at the moment. Of course, Steve Jenks is on the racetrack, but he hasn't stopped yet. Neither has Chip Roma. The same goes for Mike Anzaldi, Chris Hoon, Lucien Pancia, who's now up to 6 outright. But the order is going to change drastically. And what these drivers are hoping, really, that have stayed out, is maybe there is another full course caution. But they're really only going to get this final lap to tour before they have to come in. There's Mike D'Ambrose Sr. So he's running 8th outright at the moment, first in class for Pro 1340. And D'Ambrose looking for 3 wins from 3 starts here at Road America.
And if you're kind of scheduling your pit stop here, knowing that these laps, obviously, about 2 minutes, just a little over that 2:10 mark. In most cases, you're looking at already 5 minutes into this qualifying session, about 4 minutes left within the pit window.
Yeah, there's not long to go, so these drivers are going to have to stop. You don't want to miss the window. That'll be another penalty, and you'll be effectively out of contention. So let's have a look here. Wayne Williams sits 12th overall. He's currently 4th in class, but all the other Platinum class competitors have come in already. Steve Jenks has been just turning out the laps. And he went past again, as did Chip Roma. So these guys are going to have to come in. They're convinced they can get one more lap done. But they are leaving it very, very late to get into that the pits. I don't know if I'd feel that confident because, of course, if a safety car did come out, they would have to reduce speed. That could mean that they take more than the 2 minutes 10, and all of a sudden, they're outside the window.
Which, of course, relegates the penalty, the time penalty, basically, which is the pass-through. Multiple cars coming to pit lane now. I think majority of the field here is going to have to elect to do their pit stops here. I would certainly expect that.
Ziegler's in, D'Ambrose in, Tweedley in, Avery as well as Aaron Ziegler in. So here we go, a busy pit lane. Now it's up to the teams to work out what kind of momentary stop they need to hit the delta. What is timed as between the pit in and the pit out loops? And looks like there's a radio communication issue because a team has just walked over to the pit wall with one of our officials. And so I think they are anxious to get their driver in. Or Jack Yang looking a little bit spicy on the back of Mike Anzaldi. Chris Hoon in the mix there as well. So here's some action as they tumble out back into the tussle. So under 2 minutes remaining in the pit window. The Pro 1500 fight. Again, starts to elevate. A fantastic move there by, I think that was young Venkatesh making the move in the Pro 1500 class. And lights ablaze. So there's Mike Ansaldi. He sits behind Luke Kendall, Jack Yang. Yang was the leader in Pro 1500 before the round of pit stops. At the moment, we're showing Axpo in the lead of that class, just ahead. And that's the Tiger Beetle car coming through the kink. Then you're followed by Jack Yang in the 21 machine, Luke Kendall. Oh, and it's getting really, really close as they come down into turn 12. This could be an opportunity. They seem to just extend the gap a little bit. So that's a gold class car. I think that's Chris Hoon, Phelan Venkatesh ahead of him, and Dennis Kelly duking it out.
Waiting for what might be the final couple of cars to come to pit lane now.
So Steve Jenks is on his outlap. I've got to think that Jenks has sewn this up with that tremendous performance that he had prior to stopping. Chip Romer was also on the outlap. But in about 2 minutes' time, we're going to see a proper order here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll understand who's really in the lead of the motor race. As you can see, really running wide. That was Dennis Kelly, I think. Phelan Venkatesh, rather.
Wayne Williams up to third in platinum. Waited to see if that is third overall in the motor race as well. I would imagine once this cycles out, Wayne was one of the first cars to actually come to pit lane.
Well, what can Robert Rossi do as he carved his way back through after that penalty? Could he play a role late in this race? He's certainly got the straight line speed. He's going to have to be careful to. Oh, we've got an incident. Car 5. That is what, down at turn 8.
Correct. In turn 8 to driver's right. That is looked like a brake lock up there,
yeah,
potentially.
And Chip Romer shaking his head a bit. I can't believe Chip Romer's luck. I don't know what has happened. He's walked under a ladder with a black cat and something else because.
Well, I did see someone out with a track cat this weekend. And what I mean by that is they had their pet cat on a leash here at the racetrack.
Well, Chip Romer's been on a ladder as the cat's walked underneath or something. Unbelievable. Chip Romer was commenting on yesterday's podium how he was so glad just to have a little bit of luck go his way, and now he's had a spin on his outlap. But he is still showing in second, so it's not all over for Chip.
Definitely picked up some debris, I would imagine, on his tires from going off into the runoff area. Quite a bit of rubber buildup over there.
Yeah, it also could be a result of he's just had a pit stop. They may have bled down the tires again, and the pit window is now closed. We can see the sign. So who didn't stop? That is the big question. Did anyone make a mishap?
Well, the one mistake would be making a short pit stop, and I believe that is the 24 car. Some race control saying Dio Noreen going to get a penalty for not long enough stop.
Disaster for the Canadians. Ryspec Racing, a mistake there.
Was it
driver or team? Yeah, that's throwing away a podium position, and that's also, that could play a role in this championship. Dion Noreen in the lead of the points heading into this weekend. The likes of D'Ambrose catching up in the point score, others too, and Dion Noreen throwing away a trophy here at Road America. It's a real shame for the young gun, the Canadian, of course, his older brother racing in the USF series. And the Dion Noreen family, very, very committed to their motorsport. Stars of the future, but a tough lesson learnt today. So here we are, Chip Romer trying to work his way back through. That's Phelan Venkatesh just ahead. Chris Hoon. They are both in SR3s, but different classes. Chris Hoon, Valen Venkatesh. Hoon unable to really take it to Mike Anzaldi in this race. That's something we haven't seen yesterday. It was that fantastic battle before we got that final full course caution. And Mike Anzaldi was grinning from ear to ear after that race. In fact, he came off second best, but was so thrilled with the action and just the racing, said that Hoon was an absolute pleasure to run with.
Well, now he's got the advantage with a platinum car between the two of them, so giving him a little bit of a cushion here in the final 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, so 40 minutes goes quick when you've had a couple of full course cautions. Of course, a mandatory pit stop as well. Now we see, look at the speed those SR10s carry up the hill, the torque of the radical tuned Ford EcoBoost engines, just unbelievable. And that was sort of one of the elements that led to that incident in the first race. That's Chip Romer blasting past a number of competitors, trying to get back up to where he needs to be. Steve Jenks is still out in front of the motor race. Wayne Williams, what a recovery for him, given the contact that he had with Rossi. Rossi taken out of all of that by the penalty, but Wayne Williams finds himself in second place.
Well, Williams able to get the car running right away after the contact. Didn't lose more than 4 or 5 spots, but in doing so was able to kind of maintain some track position ahead of some of the other competitors in the overall fight. But Jonas Axpo has gone to the pointy end of the Pro 1500 class.
Yeah.
Jack Yang and Kendall, your podium looking drivers right there, the final 2.5 minutes. So really the final probably 2 laps here, I would imagine.
So Axpo capitalized on the pit stop. It was Yang who was ahead in class before the mandatory stops. Luke Kendall comes out somewhat where he went in, if you like, sitting in third. Mike Anzaldi has come through unscathed. The other big news is really that, so the white flag is out.
For Steve Jenks, there it is. Straight jacket is in the air for Steve Jenks.
So will it be Mike D'Ambrose who's on top of the box in Pro 1340? That is the question. Junior would love to take a win. It is Father's Day, so I guess that's the excuse, isn't it? I've just given the win to the old man for Father's Day.
Well,
somehow I don't think that's the case.
I don't know if Junior would disagree, but I think he might want to try to fight for it.
I think it's a great excuse, but I think that's all it would be. I think he would take that win away from Dad if he could. The question is, can he? I think the gap is too big.
As a dad and a grandpa myself, I don't know. Seeing my kid do better than me, there's kind of nothing better than that. You know, that's what you kind of hope for, right?
Oh, someone ran really wide off of turn 1 there. Who was that? That was Matt Romer, speaking of father and son combos. So the Michelob Ultra car, a little bit too ultra.
Well, coming off of the pit stop, though, Chip Romer has the fast lap of the day and is third in platinum class.
Yeah.
So he's able to get back going. So after shaking his head, getting righted in turn 8 a few laps ago, kind of put his head down.
It proves that you just can never give up. You never know what's going to happen in motor racing. Look at P2 and P3 in the platinum class. Meanwhile, it's been a masterclass from Steve Jenks. And for that matter, Jonas Axpo, who will continue to extend his lead in the Pro 1500 points. What a quiet little weekend for Jonas Axpo. The kid has been ultra impressive. Another one to jot down in the copybook. Keep an eye on Jonas Axpo in the future. A superstar in the making. But Steve Jenks has taken the checker here at Road America. Race 3 of the Radical Cup North America. Almost done and dusted. Everyone else coming around to complete their final tour of the weekend. So Jonas Expo will head up the hill.
Jack Yang, second spot on the Pro 1500.
Chip Roma will find himself on the podium. Fantastic day for him. Recovery drive. There is Luke Kendall. There is Mike Anzaldi, who does take a win in the gold class. That is going to be a fan favourite. Mike Anzaldi takes the win from Chris Hoon.
Well, Matt Romer looks like was down in the 6th spot in class, so he was able to get back underway as well.
And Dennis Kelly, a great result for Group A with Dennis Kelly, 3rd in the gold class. Spectacular stuff. 12th overall, not a bad result at all for Dennis Kelly. D'Ambrose Sr. does do the job in Pro 1340 from his son, who, as we've mentioned, I think might have the most unique tattoo in the world of his radical. And talk about representing. I've never seen that. I know we have good customer retention and a big fan base, but that is pretty awesome. And
I can certainly see why, though. I mean, looking at many of your competitors, diving in to help other teams as well.
And I think this is a trifecta of sorts, because Nico Balkazoon is shown 3rd in Pro 1340. So Dion Areen down, way down, relegated to 6th in class. So there we have it. It's somewhat official. Of course, the cars still have to go through tech. I'm sure there might be a word or two with race control as well. But it's Steve Jenks from Wayne Williams, Chip Roma, the top 3 in the platinum class. Robert Rossi dumped down to 5th after serving a penalty for contact with Wayne Williams. And we just had something else flash through, didn't we?
And they added David Albin to the
David
end of the field.
Albin
Did not make the start.
Right. And then Pro 1500, Jonas Expo extending his championship lead from Jack Yang, Luke Kendall, Valen Venkatesh. Impressive 4th place for him. So another good day for Radical Northwest. Matt Roma with that wild ride through turn 1 to round out the top 5 in what will be, I think, Pro 1340 next. It is indeed Mike D'Ambrose from son Nico Balkazoon taking his third of the weekend. Aaron Ziegler, a good result for him and Team Stradale. Declan Dion Areen down the order after a mishap in the pit stops. And Ryan George rounding out the top 7 in that class.
I believe that was the refresh. And then the results for gold, Mike Anzaldi back in the saddle again.
Yeah, back in the saddle, back on the top step of the podium in the gold class. Chris Hoon, well, he doesn't take the bragging rights away in the final race of the weekend. Dennis Kelly, he can be smiling. That'll be a fun spray of the champagne, no doubt. And Lucien Pancia, another strong result for Diddy Autosports in their debut here in the Radical Cup North America Series. Well, I've got to catch my breath and go down to start a podium ceremony. It's always good to spray the champagne on the podium here at Road America, and some deserved drivers after a wonderful weekend of Radical Cup action.
It's been fantastic. Tom, as always, pleasure to see you. Get on down to the podium and let's celebrate this Radical Cup North America finish at America's National Park of Speed.